Hey cycling friends, James with Team Finish Strong, and I'm here today to play a game with you. And while it is a game, it's also a very serious topic. Okay, so do you want to take a guess? What is the most fashionable sin? Need a hint? Well, let me tell you that this is all the rage, perfect for every social occasion. In fact, you can wear it so comfortably that you don't even know it's slipping from your lips. You know what it is? My friends, it's gossip. Ah, yes, gossip. Yes, the sin we so love to let slip from our lips. You know, it feels so good to share a choice morsel about someone to your friends or family. You think you're doing them a favor. But you know, friends, it's often because we don't think about what we're saying, who we're saying it about, and the consequences of our actions that causes gossip to be the most fashionable and yet one of the most dangerous sins out there. And you might think, James, that's a little harsh. Dangerous? Oh, come on, everybody's doing it. It can't be that bad. There's somebody out there who wants you to think like that. But I guarantee you he's not sitting on a throne in heaven. He's sitting on another throne. And you know, it is from that throne that lights the fires of this little appendage to make it such a nasty tool for his empire. You see, friends, gossip is a very dangerous weapon in the hands of the enemy. Frankly, anything that comes out of this mouth can be used by him. And man, has he been so good at it. You know, from the very beginning, when he beguiled Eve with some smooth talk, the human race has never looked back. But you know, we need to be smarter than that. We need to act not as if we were born yesterday and fall into the devil's schemes so easily. You know, gossip may not be something that people talk about, pun intended, but it needs to be talked about, because there are so many places in Scripture that warn us about our lips and the use of our mouth. Don't believe me? Well, let me go into it a little bit more. You see, one of the first places that gossip is mentioned and called out by name is in Proverbs. Now, Solomon had a lot of people in his life, and so I think he probably knew a thing or two about this thing called gossip. You know, he said that gossip separates close friends. It is very damaging, and it can cause the breakdown of relationships. But you know, Solomon said, I think that the deceitfulness of it lies in the fact that it is that choice morsel. It feels so good to share that little bit of information, you know, but we have to look at our motives, and I'll get to that in a minute. So gossip is like that choice morsel that when you eat it, it goes down, it says, into the innermost parts. It becomes a part of who we are. And not only that, but it does the same for the person hearing it as well. Think of the effect it has on them and their attitudes about a certain so-and-so that you've just shared about. Very, very damaging. It's why the enemy loves it so much. But you know, going beyond what Solomon says, you know, where's the birth of gossip? Well, I think the Psalms talk about these evil imaginations, okay? These evil imaginations that we can have about things, and particularly about people. And that is how we give voice to those evil imaginations, is through gossip. So it's a problem of the heart first and foremost. You see, James talked about how the tongue is set fire from hell. And if you read about James, he lambasts the way we use our mouths for evil, blessings and cursings. You know, God isn't fooled by our blessings when our mouth is also uttering cursings, because it's not the mouth ultimately that is the issue. It's the heart. You see, the heart is the wellspring out of which we speak. Talks about that also in Scripture, about it, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And you know, I can't stress enough, I cannot stress enough how much we need to pay attention to the things that we say, particularly in the aspect of how we say or how we talk about other people. Because Jesus says, when he was talking to the Pharisees, okay? Now remember, the Pharisees were really good on the externals, okay? They had the purification rites down to a T, okay? And so they were a little upset at Jesus. Well, probably more than a little upset. But Jesus really did not conform to their ritualistic principles, particularly I think when it came to hand washing in one particular situation. And Jesus said that it's not the things that go into you that defile you. So eating with unwashed hands does not defile you. Now, Jesus is not talking about physical purity, okay? He's not talking about germs. He's talking about spiritual purity. And you see, it's those things that don't go into you that defile you spiritually, but it's the things that come out of you, what comes out of your mouth, that defiles you spiritually. And Jesus was making that distinction, that spiritual purity and spiritual defilement is so much more weightier in the mind of God and in the heart of God than these simple ritualistic things that people did to keep themselves physically pure, keeping their clothes white, for example. The outside looks good, but the inside is full of dead man's bones, Jesus said, okay? So he was calling them out on their spiritual defilement. And folks, this is where it really matters, okay? This is where it really matters. Jesus had a lot of harsh things to say about that hypocrisy, about an outer external appearance versus an inward defilement. It's something we need to be careful of. And it's because of that that Jesus said that what comes out of the mouth comes from the overflow of our hearts. And that shows us where our heart is at, friends. Okay, so while we may think that gossip is just a little thing, it's where it's coming from in our hearts that shows our attitudes toward God and shows our attitudes towards people. You know, in fact, you can, let me say it like this. A discerning person can tell very quickly the state of a person's heart by watching what that person says. And that says a lot, my friends. That says a lot. And so we need to work on not really what comes out of our mouth, but really what is the state of our hearts. See, if we correct the state of our hearts, those evil imaginations that we have, the mouth will follow, okay? The mouth will follow. So I just want to encourage you, friends, to do as Paul instructs, where he says, don't let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only that which is for building others up. All right? And so let's let that be the last word on the topic of gossip. Well, friends, I'll tell you, that'll get you something to chew on. Something for me to chew on as well, let me tell you. But I just want to wish you all a wonderful weekend. Take care. God bless. And as always, finish strong.